To the Sam and Sam Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. We got a special one for you today with Super Bowl coming tomorrow. I'd like to welcome on my co-host, Sam Teets.
Yeah, McGinnis, it's great to be on. Great to be on today. I would like to remind everyone that the Grueling Truth Sports Network is sponsored by pathofpurity.direct. High-grade CBD, you can go there, and if you go there from the Grueling Truth, you can get 2 months' supply for the price of one. So that's your sponsor for the Grueling Truth Sports Network. So we'd like to thank them, but like you said, the Super Bowl is tomorrow. Super Bowl 55, Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady, and this is going to be a fun game.
Yes, it is going to be a fun game. And I know everybody's looking for the really high-scoring game, but I don't think this will be a Philadelphia, New England kind of Super Bowl. I think this is more likely to be a 31-27 kind of a game.
Now, do you say that because Tampa Bay's defense has been really good? I mean, Tampa Bay's defensive front specifically has been very dominant the past couple of weeks. And we're seeing a situation where they're now lining up against a Kansas City Chiefs offensive line that's missing both their starting tackles. So is that going to have a high impact in this game?
Here's what I think. I think people's expectations is usually too high when it comes to the score just in general. I think we saw that definitely when it came to the Rams-New England game just a few years ago. How many scores did we see that were like 35-42 and crap like that? That usually doesn't happen in the Super Bowl. It just usually doesn't. The Philadelphia-New England situation is not normal. And I think these defenses are good enough to at least stop both teams on a few drives.
Yeah,
but yes, also the lack of starting offensive linemen is going to be an issue.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this. We always sing the praises of Tampa Bay's defense because that defensive front they have, also with Levante David and Devin White linebacker. Although the secondary is a little bit questionable, but I do like Antoine Winfield Jr. Kansas City, they were great in man coverage last week against, well, it's not last week, this point, 2 weeks ago against Buffalo. Juan Thornhill, Tyrann Mathieu, Snead. They had a bunch of guys who were playing extremely well. So I look at this, and people think there's a giant gap between Tampa Bay's defense and Kansas City's defense. I don't think there's that huge of a difference between these two teams. I understand the pass rush is probably the base component here, and maybe the linebacker play. But I think that Kansas City's defense is still capable of playing at a high level in big game situations.
Yeah, and again, you would need two poor defenses, regardless of how good the offense was in either case. Like, for instance, San Francisco slowed down until the end of the game, Kansas City. But this is not that kind of a defense.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now moving to the offense, think about Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. Obviously, that's kind of like the new versus the old, so we get to see that kind of situation play out here. But also, the receivers in this game. I mean, we talk about Tyreek Hill on the one side. On the other hand, you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and some of the speed there. I mean, McCole Hardman, obviously, for Kansas City. But you go out, still got guys like Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown are on Tampa Bay. So you got so many great offensive weapons here. This is going to be a great game. And that's probably why people think it's going to be so high scoring. And fans like to see high scoring games more than like defensive ones. So they're probably rooting for a high scoring game. I tend to agree with you.
Just across sports, nobody likes defense, which is unfortunate because as a defensive player, you know how much fun it is to be on the defense, but nobody likes to see that.
Yeah, you're a corner, so you understand how it is to play defense. But really, I think we'll see somewhere between 50 to 55 combined points in this game, somewhere in that range, which is about 25, 28 points per team, something like that. That makes sense to me. I do think there will probably be 3 touchdowns per team. That's reasonable. I think it's because both these offenses are not afraid to go vertical and go downfield. You can score very quickly, especially with guys like Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be a game where you see a lot of deep passes just because of those players, regardless of any secondary.
Yeah, and who do you think is going to come out on top in this game? Let's just go right to our picks. Who do you think is going to win Super Bowl 55?
I know we've talked about this so many times, but
we have talked about 2 or 3 times already at this point.
At the beginning of the playoffs, I did absolutely horrible in the wild card round for whatever reason. And since then, I've gone with my gut, and I've done well. And I think my gut has to tell me that Kansas City is going to break that long. You haven't gone back-to-back in Super Bowls since the Patriots forever ago. I think they're going to do it again here.
All right, so let me explain my logic here before I heavily just go against everything I'm about to say. It's usually the best defensive front and the best offensive line that win you football games. The Buccaneers have 2 guys who are good enough to be all-pro offensive linemen. The best 2 offensive linemen in the Kansas City Chiefs aren't playing in this game. The Buccaneers had the better defensive front, and the last time a team had a chance to go back-to-back, I believe, besides New England, was Seattle, And the New England Patriots ended up winning that game and stopping Seattle from repeating. So everything to me is pointing to logic says the Buccaneers should win this game. I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs, probably for the same reason you are. My gut just says go with Patrick Mahomes and drive with the Chiefs. But I can understand why some people are picking Tampa Bay because better defensive line, better offensive line. I understand that. I'm still going with Patrick Mahomes. You just can't bet against him there, especially when I think there's a difference in coaching as well. I think the coaching for Kansas City is better than the coaching for Tampa Bay.
Okay. All right. What's up next on this?
All right, a little bit more about the NFL before we transition to the NBA and some other stuff. Did we spend too much time talking about like this whole GOAT debate, the greatest of all time? Mike DePass just posted an article.
There's no question. People spend way too much time on this, and you know what the best part about it is? It doesn't matter.
No, absolutely not. It's subjective. It doesn't matter at all.
It's just whoever wins, and you can say, "Well, this player won 6 Super Bowls." The teams he was on won 6 Super Bowls. I'd love to see Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes win a Super Bowl with the frickin' Detroit Lions. It's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, obviously it's not going to happen because no one can win a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions. You know that.
No.
So it doesn't matter. It could be Joe Montana. It could be John Elway. It wouldn't matter who it is. They're going to lose if they're on the Detroit Lions, which is probably why no one wants to go to the Detroit Lions ever because you're not going to be able to win in that situation.
Matthew Stafford would have been smart if he had gotten out the moment Matt Patricia – or actually – he would have been really smart had he never been in the Lions organization in the first place and done an Eli Manning. But it's unfortunate to be drafted by them.
I think we spend too much time talking about the GOAT debate just because I don't ever remember this being such a big deal when I was growing up. And maybe it was because Joe Montana was just accepted as the GOAT for quarterbacks and Jerry Rice was just accepted as the GOAT in general for the entire for just any position in general. So maybe that was the reason why maybe Tom Brady coming up to this point has really muddied the waters to the point that it's become a discussion. But hey, here's the one thing that my biggest pet peeve is when people bring up the GOAT debate and they say Tom Brady is the greatest player of all time, which I believe he is the greatest player of all time. And then people would bring up Patrick Mahomes and say, well, Patrick Mahomes has a chance to become the greatest player of all time. Or Patrick Mahomes is like the baby GOAT, the next GOAT. And I'm like, what? He's got 3 years of starting experience. He's got 1 Super Bowl. He's got 1 MVP. Tom Brady has 3 or 4 MVPs and 6 Super Bowls and 10 Super Bowl appearances. Let's just stop it. I mean, the whole thing.
This is a shot at me, by the way, just in case the viewers didn't understand.
it's you. It's ESPN. It's everyone. The whole idea of like the next GOAT when this guy is like 25 years old and Tom Brady is 43. It's just insane.
Okay. I will say it is impressive to see what Patrick Mahomes has done in only 3 years. I'm not really sure you can say there's another rookie that's done what he has.
No, I agree with you. I was the one who brought the question, is Patrick Mahomes a Hall of Famer if he wins the Super Bowl? I was the one who brought that up last show. I asked, would he be a Hall of Famer if he retired after winning the Super Bowl this year? And I said I thought he would be eventually. So I'm not trying to doubt Patrick Mahomes here. I'm just saying that it's a ridiculous discussion to have, considering that Brady has over a decade more of experience and 5 more Super Bowl titles than Patrick Mahomes at this point.
Yeah, I think the argument is more along the lines of he's up and coming. But I will say, back to your point on Joe Montana and Tom Brady, I wonder if part of it is Brady fans get irritated that people don't agree with them, so they try and shove the numbers in. And so that's why that debate comes up so much.
Well, we see in basketball too with LeBron and MJ. I mean, it happens all the time. There's a whole group of fans in the NBA who are Kobe fans, like diehard Kobe Bryant fans. That's one of the toughest fan bases in the NBA, even more so than LeBron or MJ. And they will argue that Kobe Bryant's the greatest player of all time. And it's just a matter of preference, because once you latch on to a player that you really like, I'm sure like Mike really enjoys watching Joe Montana. Mike's from that generation. So Mike Goodpasser, who's usually on the NFL show with me, will always believe that Joe Montana is the greatest player of all time. That's more of a generational thing, I think, than anything else. But I mean, we see these arguments happen all the time, man. It's always going to be a debate, and no one's ever going to win it because everyone's going to always believe that they're right. So no one's ever going to change their opinions.
And just remember, it does not matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. But
throwing it in there. All right.
It doesn't matter, but it matters because people disagree with each other. So people are going to make it important.
Content, though.
Content. Exactly. Watch time and viewership. That's what happens. But anyways, we're going to quickly move on here to the NBA. A little NBA news. Not going to spend that too long here. So the NBA is still planning on having an all-star game, But plenty of players, including LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, are not happy about it because, I mean, look, the NBA has put in so many strict standards for preventing the spread of COVID-19. But here they want players to essentially use their time off to go play an exhibition game that there are going to be no fans for. You're going to have to change cities and go through the whole COVID protocol all over again. And instead of spending time with your families, you're going to go play an exhibition game that no one cares who wins and no fans are going to be there to see. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have the All-Star game. I think that's why a lot of people like Giannis and LeBron just saying it's dumb. Even De'Aaron Fox said it's just stupid. He just came out and said it's stupid. And I think the idea of having an All-Star game under the current circumstances, I agree with voting people for the All-Star game, and I feel bad for the guys who would be first-time All-Stars, guys like Jaylen Brown from the Celtics. But, I mean, let's be honest, it really doesn't make sense to hold an All-Star game in this given climate.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless because what does the All-Star game really matter all that much anyway? So it seems like an unnecessary risk at that point.
I think the biggest thing that comes out of the All-Star game is that the winning team, I believe, gets some bonuses, and I know that the winning team, they have a charity for the winning team and charity for the losing team. They both get money, but the winning team gets more money for their charity of choice. So I mean, I understand the whole point, but
to the charity. Sorry, I missed that. That makes more sense. I was about to say they're just getting more millions, but no, it's for other people. Okay,
no, it's for charity as well.
You can still do that. You can
you can still. Right? I mean, you're the NBA. You can still give money. You don't have to say we're not going to give any money because you didn't have an All-Star game. But yeah, I think it's I do think it's a dumb idea in the current situation, and I can understand if players don't want to play it. I think the NBA will be open to changing that, but that again. There's money involved in that game. There's money involved. You make money off of that. So I don't know what the move's going to be, but we'll see. Other news, Zion Williamson became the second fastest player to reach 1,000 career points. So when I say second fastest, I mean career games played. He's only trailing Shaquille O'Neal. So that's pretty impressive for him, considering that everyone else on the list is guys like Joel Embiid, Shaq, LeBron James, those kind of players. The only three teams in the NBA right now with 17 wins or more are all in the Western Conference. It's like the Western Conference.
Oof, if you're in the Western Conference, by the way.
So, well, yeah, it's going to be very tough to get out of the West this year. The West, I think last season we thought the East was getting a little bit closer to the West for whatever reason, but now it's really gone the opposite
Wrong.
way. Yeah. I mean, there's still good teams in the East, like Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia. I understand that. But with Miami falling apart, that's a contender that was just in the NBA Finals that's not going to be there probably this year. And on the other hand, the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Lakers, Clippers, they're all going to be good. The Phoenix Suns, these are a lot of good teams in the Western Conference. They just can't compete right now.
Yeah, here's what I have to say. Whoever comes out of the West will win.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean,
no East team is going to beat one of those top current 17 wins Western Conference teams.
Yeah, and I can see there are a lot of matchup situations where maybe a team like Milwaukee or Boston would have an advantage, but I find it hard to believe. But I don't believe the 76ers are going to win if they got there. I don't think the 76ers would win it just because it's not. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they have the personnel right now. Boston, I don't know if Boston will be able to get there. Milwaukee, again, I don't trust Milwaukee yet to be able to make a deep run in the playoffs. So I think it's very tough for me to see an Eastern Conference team get into the finals I would feel comfortable with going forward. And one more bit of news here. Kevin Durant had a very strange COVID-19 situation the other day. So he was told before the game that he wouldn't be able to play because he had an individual who had an inconclusive COVID-19 test. So he told he wouldn't be able to play. He was then cleared by the NBA before the game, so he was able to play. And then in the third quarter, someone came down on the bench and told him that he was being pulled from the game because of COVID-19, because of the COVID-19 process. And it was just very weird because they let him play even after they knew there might be some issues. Then they pulled him under an abundance of caution is what they said. But you let him play to begin with. So it doesn't make a lot of sense here. And Kevin Durant was very pissed afterwards, tweeting out at the NBA.
I would be annoyed if they were like, yeah, you can play it. Well, no, you actually can't.
Yeah, it's just very – the issue here with this is everyone's okay with it so long as you're consistent. But when you have these inconsistencies like this, that's when there start becoming issues, and that's when people start to complain and get upset. So if you're the NBA, you need to review this matter and be like, you need to make sure this never doesn't happen again because it'll be a bigger issue the next time it does.
Yeah, it's kind of like the PPE thing at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis. We're getting a lot of mixed messages. It can be
exactly.
Fairly annoying.
All right, we do have a player comparison, though, today.
Yes. You want to throw
I'm going to put the numbers up here. I'll show you player one in a second.
Is there any way you can put them side by side?
I do not believe so, but
oh, that hurts.
I will. I will try. Here, let me try something.
You could just space bar it.
Yeah, I could. I'm also going to try to let's see this add caption, and we'll show this. All right, so player 1 on the top, player 2 on the bottom in blue.
Okay, so I'm going to explain this a little bit. Teets will get a shot at the players this is because he might know it by now. he's had some thought, but this is first 3 years of both these quarterbacks, or first 3 starting years, pardon me, of both these quarterbacks. That should help you out a lot, I think.
That should help me out a lot. First 3 years, okay.
First 3 years of starting.
So here's the players I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, obviously. And I'm thinking about Kurt Warner. I'm thinking about Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. I'm thinking about those 5 guys.
Hold up. You think Nick Foles did this?
Yeah, you said first 5 years. I wasn't sure. Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm just thinking because it's 5 years. So or how many years you said? How many years did you say? 3 or 5? What was it?
It was the first 3 starting seasons
3 years. Okay.
of 2 players.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna go with the obvious ones then, and hopefully I'm right. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady.
See, I gave it to him there because that is what this is. He had no idea before I gave him
absolutely no. I was looking at the numbers. I'm like, I was taking Carson Wentz because I know we've talked about Carson Wentz recently. I was like, maybe it's a Carson Wentz, Nick Foles thing. I don't know, but
here's the thing. You want to know why Patrick Mahomes is in this debate? He's the top numbers.
Oh yeah, I know.
Notice how literally every category is better than Tom Brady's except one Super Bowl, which they're tied.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Tom Brady. And I recently finished reading a book called The Dynasty. I forget who the author was, but it's a very large, 500-page book talking about the whole Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady era in New England. And the thing with those early Patriots teams that some people forget is Tom Brady. Yes, Tom Brady was good to begin with, but Tom Brady was more of a game manager from the start. And really, they had a tremendous defense. Guys like Ty Law, William McGinnis. And so it was a very defensive team under Bill Belichick to begin with. And it transitioned over time to become more and more of an offensive juggernaut once Tom Brady became more comfortable. So those opening seasons, Tom Brady was good, but not to the level Tom Brady is now. Tom Brady's better as a 20.
But this is part of the point. This is part of the point. Patrick Mahomes is going to get better than he is now, right? I think that's a fair statement. He continues to get better. He's already better than Tom Brady was then.
That's fair, but I do think you could get worse because look at someone like Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was the guy in Los Angeles for the it was St. Louis at the time for the Rams.
Same level though. Kurt Warner was good, but I don't think he was Patrick Mahomes good. Give me a second. Go ahead.
I would debate you on that. Kurt Warner did go to 2 Super Bowls. He won 1, and he had 2 MVP seasons. If I'm correct, 2 MVP seasons. The greatest show on turf was looked at as the greatest offense of all time. And in the span of his first 3 years as a starter, I'm going to combine the numbers right now, and we'll see how they compare. But first 3 years as a starter, 67.2 completion percentage, which is higher than both Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady here in this comparison. Let me pull the numbers back up here really quickly so you can see them. So Kurt Warner, better completion percentage. 12,612 yards, which is second behind Patrick Mahomes in this debate. 98 touchdowns, second behind Mahomes here, ahead of Tom Brady. 53 interceptions, so that's more than both these guys at that point. So more interceptions, but again, that was an era where more interceptions were expected to some degree. And 2 MVP awards and a Super Bowl in that span.
In his first 3 starting seasons, yeah.
In his first 3 starting seasons.
See, with all of that, I think the other MVP might be the thing that pushes him there, but at the same time, the yards, the touchdowns, and the interceptions were all in Patrick Mahomes' favor. Yeah.
And I think the thing I'm thinking about here is not that necessarily Kurt Warner had a better 3-year stretch. It's just that there was a drop-off significantly after 2001. Kurt Warner did not make another Pro Bowl again until 2008. And mind you, the Pro Bowl is not that hard to get into, even back then. That was early 2000s. It's not that difficult to make the Pro Bowl. He just wasn't good again until 2007, 2008 kind of level. So he took a while to rebound. And that's what I'm saying with Patrick Mahomes. We can't assume. I know the first 3 years were much better than Tom Brady's first 3 years to start, but we can't make assumptions because of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen next.
You can certainly make a prediction, though, and I know
it's fun to make predictions.
I've either made mine in the past or making it now that he will eventually. It'll take some years because just how long Tom Brady's career is going to be. But eventually we'll be sitting here. We'll be like freaking 70 or 80 on this show being like, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes finally passed Tom Brady.
Like, remember back in the day when Tom Brady was the greatest player of all time, and now it's...
Oh, I would still prefer Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady as being the GOAT anyway.
You say that, but at some point, you'll become sick of Patrick Mahomes, too. If Patrick Mahomes wins, like, 4 of the next 6 Super Bowls, you'll be very tired of it.
I would be... It would be tiring, but not as tiring. That would be, like, acceptable annoyance versus absolute hatred and irritation.
Yeah, and how old do you think Tom Brady's going to play to? Because he said he wants to play till 45. I mean, he's 43 right now.
I think he'll get there.
I think he could do now, unless he hits a wall like Peyton Manning. Remember, Peyton Manning hit a wall. Like, he was just the one year he was a Pro Bowler. The next year he was throwing more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think that wall will hit. I mean, Brady's got to hit something eventually. He's been the
and we're seeing some of those again. The Green Bay game also. Some of those interceptions were pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's not
there have been
normally see from Tom Brady. You're starting to see him wear, and I think we've seen this for a few seasons. Even though he's had a great year this year, by no means can you say during the Green Bay game it is because of Tom Brady that they are there.
Yeah. Or even the New Orleans game, honestly. The defense was primarily, I think, the biggest factor in the New Orleans game, and Drew Brees' inability to throw the ball beyond 10 yards. Just to give you some numbers here, Peyton Manning's final season before hitting that wall, so his second to last season of his career, 4,700 yards, 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, a 101.5 passer rating. Tom Brady this year, 4,600 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a 102.2 passer rating. So it's not inconceivable. We've seen a quarterback of similar playing style, or not similar playing style, but of similar caliber, fall from grace in the span of just a year to becoming a guy who's not even worthy of a starting job, basically, at that point. So we've seen it happen in the past. There's no saying it couldn't happen to Tom Brady going into next year.
But don't count on it.
Don't count on it. Yeah, no. He'll be back in the Super Bowl next year. What are we talking about? Just mark it down right now.
Dude, this had better not be one of those NBA situations where the same two teams come to the Super Bowl like 3 years in a row. That would piss me off so much.
I would love to see. I don't get that upset about this kind of stuff. I obviously would want the Pittsburgh Steelers to be in this situation, but the way the Steelers are trending right now, I'm not very hopeful. And you're a Lions fan, so you should know.
Better option than Big Ben. There's a problem.
Oh yeah, but that's the issue. That's going to be the problem. That's what's going to kill Pittsburgh here in the next couple of years. But I do want to ask you this. We haven't spoken necessarily, not on the show at the very least, about the Matthew Stafford trade. And I know we have to get to thinking you're dreaming in a minute, but I do want to ask you about the Matthew Stafford trade first.
Okay.
So the deal happens that the Lions send Stafford to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Matt Stafford, by the way. Enjoy your new home in LA.
Yep. And
in return, the Lions get Jared Goff, 2 future first-round picks. So neither of them are this year, but they're in the future. And a third-round selection that I believe is for this year. How do you feel about that as a Lions fan?
Okay, so I'm going to say, because there are 2 parts to this. There's the Matthew Stafford end, and then there's the Lions end, because I'm still a Lions fan, obviously. Matthew Stafford needed to get out a long time ago. I know I've always said this. It's unfortunate. I mean, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, both wasted careers. I think, because my initial thought was that the Colts would be the best option for Matthew Stafford. Great O-line. You've got good running backs. Your defense doesn't suck. It's a good option. And then he goes to the Rams, and I'm starting to think about it. I think this was actually even better an option than the Colts. There is a potential, although I think it is an outside one, that he could win a Super Bowl with this team. I think he is a good caliber quarterback. He's probably number 10 on a top 10 if you ran it out and really gave him a chance compared to other quarterbacks. And I think it's just unfortunate he got himself in such a crummy organization for so long, because unless he wins a Super Bowl or something, who the heck's going to remember him? And he does crazy stuff similar to Patrick Mahomes with no-look passes. And everybody talked about the sidearm thing with Patrick Mahomes. Matthew Stafford had been doing that for years before Patrick Mahomes even entered the league. Yet you never heard about it because he was on the Lions. So I think this is a chance to just give him one name for himself before he ends.
Yeah, I think this is a great move from Matt Stafford. He's the ultimate winner here in this situation because he gets to go play with Sean McVay with all those weapons for the Rams. And I do think the Lions win this situation too, because you get Jared Goff. Yeah. He's got a couple more years on his contract. Goff's not a bad quarterback. He's just not an elite quarterback. You have Goff now. You've got more picks.
Let me get to the second part of this then.
Yeah, go for it.
Jared Goff As I said on the NFL show, the problems with Jared Goff is he's limited and he's a turnover machine. That is not what Detroit needs, especially with how bad our defense is. We're going to be tanking over the next forever because that's what Detroit does for a living. I think Jared Goff is an acceptable rebuild quarterback, and I think that we're just kind of screwed in general. But if you were going to try and make something out of the Matthew Stafford trade, honestly, I think they definitely took this one. He was probably worth a first-round pick, and maybe that was it. A first-round pick and maybe a scrub or two. Not 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a decent quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think Detroit wins this deal because you get more picks than you really need to get out of this. So I think that's what's ultimately puts them over the top. And the Lions are going to have a lot of cap space this offseason. They got a bunch of free agents. This is probably a good start for their rebuild, which is why I think it's ultimately a win for them in this trade situation.
Yeah. Somebody get rid of the Ford family.
Yeah, you wish. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Never leaves. Bad ownership never leaves. Before we get to thinking or dreaming, though, I do want to cover our flex of the week today. And I came up with this one, and it is what we just discussed, the Lions finessing 2 first-round picks and a third-rounder out of Los Angeles for a quarterback swap, essentially. I think Detroit absolutely wins this one.
Oh, 100%. Well, that depends. I think we don't technically know that yet. If the Rams win a Super Bowl and the Lions' first-round picks turn into nothing, Rams
it doesn't matter.
So I guess before you can really ever say somebody has won a trade, you have to see how it pans out first.
Well, and Detroit could fairly easily waste these first-round picks and not get anywhere for it.
Correction, will waste these first-round picks. It doesn't even matter if they're good. If they're good, it'll just be a Calvin Johnson situation. They'll retire early after careers wasted, or be like Darius Slay or Matthew Stafford, who are just like, nah.
Nah, we're done.
We're done. Peace out.
Yeah, I can see that happening. So I guess on paper, initially, it looks like a very good move for Detroit, and I just the flex of the week. But there's still a lot of chances for Detroit to mess this up. This is far from a given situation here.
For certain. I'd love to see Matthew Stafford win a Super Bowl, though. And again, with that defense, if the Bucs do get back to that championship and the Rams are able to get to the NFC Championship, with that defense, certainly I think it is possible to stop Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but we'll see. It's going to be fun to watch this quarterback carousel continue spinning as the offseason goes on, even though it's not even the offseason yet. But, all right, thinking or dreaming, this, of course, is the segment where we both kind of pose 2 hypothetical situations to each other, and we tell the other person if they're thinking or if they're dreaming. Basically, are they making sense or are they just a freaking idiot? We'll see which one we are today. But do you want to start today?
Sure, and just a quick heads up. This isn't always like a we believe this statement, but
right. Sorry.
More curious how the person will react.
Yeah.
We it's Super Bowl themed today, just to let you know, because obviously, how can you not? The coaches will matter more than the QBs in tomorrow's game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe that entirely. I have a coach question actually as well for you later on, but I totally believe this because Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they work together in these situations to decide the offensive game plan. It's huge what they're going to do here to counter temp-based defensive fronts. They have a great defensive line. They get great pressure. And obviously, like we mentioned, Kansas City does not have their both starting offensive tackles. So what are you going to do here to counter the quick pass rush that's going to be following Patrick Holmes basically the entire day? How do you get around that? And I think we'll see Travis Kelce and some of the faster guys, maybe not Tyreek Hill necessarily, because you need him to go over the top to draw some coverage, but maybe Mecole Hardman, do some shorter routes and hit those guys and see if they can just create things underneath and go from there. How will they utilize the running game, if at all, against a dominant Tampa Bay defensive front? How will they get that going? So I'm very interested to see how they play well. And on the other side, Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich really working the offense for Tampa Bay. I'm less concerned about them and more about Todd Bowles because he's had a great defense. He's been calling great defensive plays basically the entire year. And I'm very high on him as a defensive coordinator, not so much as a head coach, honestly, because I didn't love some of the things I saw in New York. I know Mike gives him a little bit of a pass there, but I think there were some issues in New York. But he's a very good defensive coordinator. That's the reason he got the coaching job, head coaching job in New York to begin with. But I like what he's done so far. And the real matchup here, well, everyone is looking at Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. I think it's Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy versus Todd Bowles.
There you go. All right. Hit me with yours.
All right, first one, not coach related. The three best players on the field tomorrow night will be Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill.
See, this is a hard thing to dispute, but at the same time, it won't be Tom Brady. It won't be Tom Brady because another prediction real quick, he'll have 1 to 2 turnovers, and if he has 2, the second one will be a fumble, regardless of whether they win or not.
Right.
I think I'm going to have to say yes, but with the potential exception that there could be a situation in which one of the defensive linemen for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is actually on that list due to lack of O-line support.
I agree. But I still think there's a possibility here that when the game ends, you're going to have a choice for the MVP of choosing between Mahomes, Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. Although I probably would have said the same thing last year, and it really wasn't the case. He didn't have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in that debate. That'll be interesting.
Honestly, having thrown 2 interceptions during that game, I am wondering why Patrick Mahomes really won that in the first place.
Well, I think they made some big plays down the stretch, and it's the idea that was the comeback. I know the running back, Williams, had a very good game as well. I think he scored that go-ahead touchdown, pretty sure if I remember correctly. And there was a lot of pushback when he didn't win the award, but I also think that Mahomes was kind of the galvanizing force to get them back in the game. And you know how these awards go, though, Sam. I mean, it's quarterback. They're quarterback friendly. They're quarterback friendly.
Yeah, very quarterback friendly. Or in the case of the MVP, almost always a QB. You could really almost rename it to the best QB in the NFL award. They should have a separate award for that, and then have a real MVP award.
Reserved for quarterback.
Reserved for quarterback.
All right, but your second hypothetical situation here was Tom Brady will throw 1 pick and fumble 1. So 2 turnovers in the game. This is after, I believe, he threw 3 interceptions against the Green Bay Packers last week. Did not throw an interception against the New Orleans Saints.
I will say
he didn't fumble. He didn't lose it, but he did fumble once.
I will say there was I'm not sure if any of you saw, but one of the first interceptions Tom Brady threw that was down the field to that safety, he threw nearly the exact same interception against the Saints. The only difference is the dude landed out of bounds. So if it weren't for that, we would be sitting here saying he has 2 different games this postseason with interceptions. But fortunately, the sideline was friendly to him there. Also, for the Bucs, don't run that play. Tom Brady throws interceptions on that play.
Yeah, looking at Tom Brady, he doesn't usually turn the ball over very much in championship games, but he did fumble in a very crucial situation against the Philadelphia Eagles back in, I don't remember the number, but I know that was the 2017 season, I believe. They had a fumble where Brandon Graham comes off the edge, and he doesn't see it, and he strip sacks Tom Brady. That gives Philadelphia a huge boost there towards the end of the game. So looking at that, I think that the fumble was probably
more likely.
I feel like saying more likely, but he threw 3 picks last game, so it wouldn't really make sense to say the fumble was more likely. But I could see both because the Chiefs played excellent defense last week in man coverage. So I could see guys like Tyrann Mathieu, someone like him, making a big play, get the interception. But I think the fumble is honestly more likely just because Tom Brady at this point, he moves very well in the pocket, but he's not running away from guys, obviously. And if you can hit him when he's not looking, for any quarterback, it's difficult to haul into the ball. But I think Tom Brady is a little more susceptible to that kind of fumbling right now than he was in his younger years. So I think there will be at least 1 turnover with Tom Brady. And I think this is thinking, I believe there will be 2, and I have diversity in there and get a fumble and an interception.
Yeah, and on the note of how the Chiefs played against Josh Allen and the Bills, I think I get the numbers, but I think Josh Allen is overrated along with the Bills team as a whole. I didn't think they were ready. I didn't think they were ready for the Chiefs. And I certainly don't. I feel like he's a little young yet. I understand the success, but how many huge situations has he been in? And I get, lower playoff games. He's won now. No concern there. But I don't really see how he can beat the Chiefs. Not yet, at least.
Sam McGinnis, you are speaking my language, man. I appreciate it. I like hearing that. Mostly because Mike was picking the Bills to beat the Chiefs, so I kind of had to root against him in that kind of situation. I do acknowledge that Josh Allen had a great year this year. I'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that and have 2 really good years back-to-back. So we'll really find out if he's capable of doing this again next year. And I do think the Bills some people gave them too much of a chance against the Chiefs. They were not ready for the Chiefs. They just weren't. So I think that they're a good team, but they're not the Chiefs are on a different level. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Both Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are young, but Patrick Mahomes looks like he's been in the league forever, and Josh Allen doesn't.
Yeah, Josh Allen, this is Josh Allen's first really good year. Yeah, this is Josh Allen's first really good year, and then he had trouble with KC's defense in the playoffs. So I would say this. Allen did not have a good game against Kansas City, and to me, I understand he doesn't have as many weapons as Patrick Mahomes per se, but he did have Stephon Diggs, who was arguably the best receiver in the league this past year, and he did have plenty of our depth at different positions. So I'll say this. Mahomes is better than Josh Allen to me, and there's no question about that in my mind. Mahomes is better than Josh Allen, and the Chiefs are better than the Bills. I think we can leave it at that. And I think that's pretty apparent now after this past playoffs.
Well, and I don't like Josh Allen taking however long, 23 yards, something ridiculous. It looked like a high schooler move is what it looked like. I've seen my own quarterbacks do that, though they can be really good at times too. I don't want to bash on them.
Hey, you're insulting your teammates now, McGinnis. You're gonna have to hear about this.
Hey, one of them they're both really good anyway. So just hard not to run away from people. It's natural. Yeah. But I think maybe not this year. But in the past, I think we can say Josh Allen has looked young. He's not developing as fast. And Patrick Mahomes nearly instantly was the guy. So there is a gap here.
Yeah, there's a gap. All right, my final thinking your dreaming situation for you. Andy Reid simply outcoaches Bruce Arians as the Chiefs repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. I'm also going to say, since I picked the Chiefs, it would be hard to say that Andy Reid coached worse. Well, I could see that depending on how well Patrick Mahomes played, but I'm gonna go with the thinking option here.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about for today's show? Anything else you want to bring up?
Not really. I looked around for NHL news and I was just like, there's COVID issues. There are rescheduled.
There's always COVID issues.
But how is I'm not talking about that. The open heart surgery for Henrik Lundqvist went well. We don't know if he's going to be coming back or not, but he says he feels good. So that's always a good note. I know we talked about that a bit earlier in last year, actually, on the Sam show when he first had that heart issue.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Always good to know that the players are, getting through those procedures because they do have a lot of operations go on, and we never know when, open heart surgery is obviously a scary thing. So it's good to know that he is healthy and recovering at the very least from that surgery.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to wrap the show up here, and hopefully we'll be back next Friday at 9:30. This is a weekly show for the Grueling Truth Sports Network. You can find it on the Grueling Truth Facebook page. That's probably where you're listening right now. We're also on YouTube. And, of course, there's the Grueling Truth Twitter account, which is just my good pastor's personal Twitter account, so I wouldn't recommend. That's not as good as the Facebook page where you can find all the content, all the videos, and that kind of stuff. So go for all the Facebook page for more of our content. And, again, we will try to be back next Friday at 9:30 p.m. For now, thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Leave a comment, like the video, and we will see you all next